So you can see there's like comments coming on the side here. Remember, you can scroll up and down.
Sure.
But I've got a question to start off with. Let me get it up here because it's from one of our viewers on YouTube. It is, what is the difference between flying the Mirage 3 and the Mirage 5?
Same plane. It's basically the Mirage 5 was a derivative of the Mirage 3, and I think it was they stripped it down a little bit. Mirage 3 had a lot of avionics. It had a big radar, airborne intercept radar. I think it was called the Cyrano radar. They took that out. They put it in. So it was basically a configuration, electronic configuration change, and they made it lighter. The Mirage 5 was lighter, and basically same airframe, slightly longer, elongated nose, lesser avionics in some way, and more stuff in there. So basically, it's the same airplane, same airframe, same wing, maybe not necessarily the same weights. So it's basically same airplane. Yeah.
Brilliant. As you can see to here, there's plenty of questions coming in. So if you want to scroll up so you don't miss any, and I'm going to let you loose and hopefully you'll enjoy.
Alrighty, thanks, Mike. Let me just scroll up and start from the beginning. Tail person, you had mentioned the MiG-19 was temperamental to land, specifically during turn from base. What speed and altitude did you use to turn to final approach? Yeah, tail chopper. MiG-19 was a bit, at that time the contemporary was a F-100 Super Sabre in the U.S. Air Force, and because they were both very high sweep back airplanes, and if you're not careful, it had adverse yaw characteristics. So I don't remember exactly because we had speeds in kph, kilometers per hour, and the F-100 had not so obviously. Base turn, I think, I don't even want to guess, but it was somewhere in the vicinity of 260, 280 kph, and about 1,500 feet we initiate the base turn, roll out on funnels about 500 feet AGL. So the TV on the background, they're all trying to sort out this thing. Okay. Gmail.com. Mr. Tahir, my father flew standard as F-6 pilot, moved to Mirages, and moved to an A5 later. He joined Air Force in 1976, the time you were leaving. I actually had met him and stayed a bit. I don't know what's your father's name. I probably must have met him, or maybe even flown with him. Next question. They're still trying to sort out. Okay. Jin Zhang. Thanks very much, gentlemen. Can you describe the experience of flying the MiG-19 at extremes of speed? What did the flight controls fly like? Supersonic speed versus slow speed, high alpha. Jin Zhang, the airplane at slow, extreme speeds, there was not a big thing. It had a thing called ARU, which was a kind of for the pitch control. It had an automatic balancing system, but slow speed, high angle, it was a conventional kind of a control field, not a big difference. At supersonic speeds, I've been supersonic many times. You actually didn't feel, you had a bit of a maybe nudge if you're watching very carefully on the control stick, otherwise no change. Change of okay, most of the So from Shahir Attar, Aslam Alaikum, joining the Air Force just after 1965 war and getting fighter training on the hands of veteran pilots. How did they share their combat experience with you? Yeah, they were very, very helpful. They're very, whatever I learned about fighter flying and combat experience came from my mentors over there. Martin Wood, hi, have you ever had to eject? If so, why? Yes, Martin, I did have to eject. Actually, I did have to eject twice. Once was not successful and once was successful. If you see my aircrew interviews, part 1 or 2, has those both the ejections covered. One was a unsuccessful ejection where the canopy didn't fire and I had to land with the airplane out of a MiG-19. The second was out of a Mirage, which was successful, thank God. Then there's from Frickle Pune, did the F-6 ever encounter MiG-21s and which would be better in close combat? I think they did. They did. F-6s versus MiG-21. I cannot recall a real close combat like dogfighting between the two. I think it would be MiG-21 obviously probably is better. I've never flown the MiG-21. I wish I did. But I think there was some encounters and I don't know what the outcome was. I don't remember. Okay. In Wigan, what's your most memorable moment on the Mirage? And did you prefer flying the Mirage 3 or the 5? Memorable moments on the Mirage. I flew the Mirage 3s in Pakistan and in the Mirage 5s in Pakistan and in Libya. I was seconded to the Libyan Air Force in the early 70s. They pretty much flew the same. I have no definite preference. 3 and 5s are about the same airplanes. And then we got Johnny Wilson.
If you remember, Tahir, you can scroll up because there's plenty of questions on the side that you might have missed. So on the sidebar, you can scroll up and see the people's questions.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Mike. Okay, NB, what do you think about PF purchase of Russian Il-78 tankers? And why no aerial refueling platform for the F-16 jets? NB, you're talking of something that's highly technical that came much after an old fogey like me that retired, so you'll have to ask somebody else. Maybe some of the younger PF pilots who can answer that question. Okay. The Western clear. The frequently. Hi, Tahir. Without wishing to start a flame war, did IAF's, that's Indian Air Force, Nat deserve deserve the title Saber Killer? I don't know. I think best be left for the people to decide how many sabers Nats did shoot down. They did actually. Yeah. Okay. The next question. What are your thoughts on the performance of PF on the 27th February and how effective a response was given by Pakistan? Also, what is the future in terms of new platform acquisitions for the PF? Well, 27th February, you're talking the recent skirmish in Kashmir between Pakistan and India. I think we might as well leave it for another forum to be discussed. new future in terms of new platform acquisition for the PF. There's a lot of talk, a lot of rumors going on about, we got the JF-17s from the Chinese, which we are manufacturing ourselves. We're very happy with, and I think there's it might be some development on the same side, where improvements, same, or a new model. I don't know. I'm not privy to all that information, as I'm retired. Can you say more about DSCT against some of the other PF aircraft, and also against the MiG-21 and NAT? But DSCT, if you're talking about DSCT from the MiG-19 against other PF aircraft, the MiG-19 was an awesome and performer against like the Mirage, or what we had in those days in the Pakistan Air Force, because I did a lot of that against the MiG-21 and the NAT. Like I said, against the MiG-21, it would be, I can just guess. I've never went into a DSCT or in actual combat against MiG-21. I did against the Su-7s, which they ran away. But DSCT, I think against the MiG-21 or the NAT, it would be a pretty close match, and it depends on the pilots who comes out the winner. What do you think about PF purchase operation? I know that we covered earlier. Okay, Xinzhang, can you describe the sequence of how you caged, locked on, and fired the PL-2 missile while firing MiG-19? How do you rate its effectiveness? No, Xinzhang, you're mistaking it. I never said I locked on and fired a PL-2 missile while flying a MiG-19. It was a gun attack that I could not shoot down the Su-7s. If you look at my videos again, yeah, no, I never fired a PL-2. I don't even know we had PL-2 missiles, the MiG-19s. Anyway. Okay, how was the ground radar average aviator? How was the ground radar in the Mirage, and could you manually select targets by TMS by the different modes and engage them? And even if you did lock them up, other than UGB, any other weapons, you're talking of something that I feel more than almost 40 years ago, 35 years ago. It was a good ground radar, air to ground. If you think of ground mapping, the Serrano radar was very good on that. For air to air function, air intercept is very good. But all these TMS and things like that, I don't even know that. So you'll have to ask somebody else. Is it true that Gmail? Is it true that Pakistan Mirage III has an interceptor rather than a ground attack aircraft? Did PF use Mirages in a dogfight against each other? Did PF prepare Mirages for a dogfight as well? Yep. Our Mirages were basically ground attack airplanes, and we used them for day and night interceptors. So, yep, we used them in all three roles very effectively, I may add. India. Okay, let me try. Yes, I meant DSCT with the F-86 or other aircraft. Yep, okay. Thank you for your time, Tahir. Did you have any secondments of the Air Forces? Yes, I did. I went to Libya for a little over a year and flew the Mirages over there in Libya. This was in the early 70s. Okay. What is the toughest aircraft you had a dogfight with in your career? A dogfight, toughest aircraft, like in practice, if you're talking ACM, it was obviously we used to do 1 versus 1 ACM against each other, one MiG-19 against the other, and that was probably the toughest airplane I dogfighted against. At CH, how do you rate PF pilot training compared to IF and NATO? I do not know very intimately IF or NATO's pilot training, but I think PF pilot training is, I would think, second to none. We are doing very well. Thanks. What measures would you take to enhance the range of the MiG-19 to fulfill your mission requirements, since it didn't carry much fuel? Good question, Tahir Alam. PF, with its, that time, while I was still in the Air Force, we had one of our pilots actually had thought up, and then I think he, along with some good engineers in our Air Force and maintenance people, they had produced and manufactured a what they called a gondola tank, an extra fuel tank that would screw onto the belly of the airplane, and that would give it some extra fuel. That was, I think, in our own invention. It worked very well. It gave it maybe another 15, 20 minutes of fuel, which is a long time. So that, yeah, to answer a good question. Tail Chopper says, did you practice deflection shooting, or was it strictly from 6 o'clock? Tail Chopper 71, all airborne shooting, air-to-air shooting, when you're talking gun attacks, is deflection. You hardly ever would be lucky enough to find an airplane going absolutely straight on level. You come right behind him straight on level, there'll be no deflection. That'll be the easiest, and so it's always okay. Do you have any? Strange UFO incidents, scrambles. Nope, no UFO sightings. It's becoming quite commonplace now. I think there's some more aliens coming over. Chinese aircraft of that era had a reputation of being very maintenance heavy. Per flying hour, especially as far as engine life was concerned. Good question, Charlie. Yes, they were very high on maintenance. I remember it was close to every 100 hours of the engines, we had to take the engines out and do almost a cross-section inspection or a complete, it is a very, very, I think they've, of course, definitely they've improved a lot since then. It was a very high maintenance airplane, flying per hour. Bilal Qureshi, what is the call sign? Bilal, funny enough, I think the call sign you mean Maverick or these fancy names we hear in Top Gun and all. We didn't have, all pilots were not assigned to a fancy call sign at that time. You just, each time you flew, you got a different call sign. Do you pilots also expert in close quarter gunfights like the army? No, Shoaib, we don't do close quarter gunfights like army. Nope. You're talking bayonet fighting or pistols? No, we don't. Okay, Mark Webber, amongst all of the aircraft you have flown, which one did you find the most challenging? You mean difficulty in learning how to fly or fly it very well, was definitely the MiG-19. And that's why, because when it's more challenging, Mark, an airplane, once you learn to fly it, it also becomes the most rewarding and most satisfying. So to answer your question, MiG-19, F-86, most challenging, most rewarding, most satisfying, my favorite airplane. Okay. Okay, there's a question about the delta wing on the Mirage. It's true the Mirage doesn't lose speed while flying 200 meters above the Earth or sea due to its delta wings, makes it effective ground. No, nothing like that. Because the delta wing, the Mirage, or like any other delta wing, it has a very high drag once you're pulling G's or once you let the speed come down. And delta wings have their advantages, but big disadvantages. The induced drag that comes in with the high lift. So it's a give or take. Okay. Then this question, Mo Jamil. Did you cross paths with Air Commodore Kessel Tofel during your time in the PF? Yes, I did. And incidentally, Kessel Tofel is still a very good friend of mine, and we talk very often. We are still in touch. Great man. I have a great admiration for him. Then, tail chopper. With the fuel tanks, were there any cases of tanks getting ripped off the wings or getting stuck or not jetsoning? I don't remember any case of fuel tanks being ripped off the wings unless maybe you pulled excessive G's and or I don't know of any of those. But not jetsoning, yes, there have been times when pilots have tried to jettison the tanks in an emergency or whatever reason, and one of them has not gone. UHA, was the F-6 with gondola or belly tank fully combat capable? Did it impose any restrictions or hamper its performance at all? Yes, good question. UHA, I remember flying the F-6 with the gondola tank. I personally could not see any penalty in the performance, but I'm sure there was some. It was more or less a conformal gondola tank. You can see some pictures if you look for them on the internet, and to the more conformal kind of it's like a bloated belly under the thing. So I flew it a couple of times. I don't remember any performance change, but must have been something. A little more weight in. Okay. Muhammad Arham, what's your favorite non-military aircraft you have flown? Favorite non-military airplane, Muhammad, is Gulfstreams. I flew Gulfstream business jets a lot. I worked for Gulfstream Aerospace. That's why I still got their badge over there, I think so. The Gulfstreams, I flew the Gulfstreams from the G2 to G3, G4, G450, 5, 550, almost all models, but not the real latest 650 and all. So Gulfstreams, all of them were my favorite non-military airplanes, still are. What serial number was my, oh, come on. I don't remember the serial numbers of any. Let me ask you if you have ever had any stressing landing situations. How does the Mirage handle any crosswind versus anything else you've flown? Landing situations, I described one in my interview where on the F-86s, I had to land with one man gear up. So have a look at that. That's interesting. Mirage crosswind handling wasn't much different. You know, this from Frank Boori. The crosswind in a military airplane, in a fighter airplane, is not such a big deal because you come in, you can even land a little bit of crab. You're not worried too much about keeping the passengers happy or something. So, you know, it's Mirage was pretty much the same. Okay. Please, could you give your thoughts about a dogfight between MiG-21 and F-16 last year? I don't know. I don't know what happened. A MiG-21 claimed, an Indian MiG-21 claimed to have shot down a Pakistani F-16, which is quite unlikely if you ask me. very controversial, so I'll leave it at that. Mohammed Sultan says, how do PF pilots practice dogfights? How do you guys practice mock dogfights between different squadrons? Mohammed Sultan, same way as everybody else does. Everybody practices, all Air Forces practice dogfights. It's called air combat maneuvering or BFMs. So yeah. Shahirata, how did the bombing missions of the Mirage differ from traditional dive bombing missions of B-7s? B-7s are a bomber. The Mirage was a fighter bomber, and I never flew the B-57s, but we had different techniques and tactics. Okay. Have you ever gone supersonic in a dive in an F-86? No, never did. What's one thing you tell your younger self? What do you think? One thing you tell your younger self after all you've done and experienced? Wigan, that's from Wigan. I would tell my younger self, don't change anything, man. Go for it. You'll make mistakes. You'll learn from them. And what doesn't kill you makes you stronger and makes you more wiser. Shoaib Khalil Malik. Any thoughts about JF-17 versus F-16? I don't know. I have friends who are flying, who have flown JF-17s and F-16s, and they are a lot of praise for both models. I love them. I wish I'd flown either one of them, but I don't know. Bilal, what's the current state of the art BVRs? Do you think dogfight is a thing? Good question, Bilal. I personally, if you ask me, I think dogfights, close combat, turning and burn and turn and scissors and yo-yos, and I think that should be a thing of the past, because BVR, you just get up there, fast, fire a long-range missile, get, I think you're right. Personally, I think it's a thing of the past, which is sad in a way, but it's probably more effective. Faraz Tanveer says, is PF getting J-10Cs? I hope we do. I am not privy to the, anyway, it will be classified information. What aircraft, aeronaut says, what aircraft would you fly if you were given the choice? Well, right now, if I was given the choice, I'd fly the F-16. Okay, at CH, what aircraft was the best choice you think PF has acquired over its history? PF didn't have, I think, too much choice to acquire airplanes. It was, we were constrained by sanctions, by financial constraints and all. But I think what we've done so far, what my seniors and mentors and the people who made the decision, I think they did pretty well. Talk about the F-86 was a very good choice, I think. Talk about the MiG-19s, the Mirages before that, because Mirages we had no choice. There's only airplane we could buy with cash. And so, yeah, I think they've done pretty good. Okay. Okay, they say, was Wing Commander SMH Hashmi your OC? Any memories worth sharing? Wing Commander SMH Hashmi was my OC. He was my favorite OC. God bless him. He's passed away now. Yes, I've got a lot of memories. It's been too long to share them. What can be improved in regards of strategy at PF? How does our strategy compare with it? Our strategy, I think, so far is pretty good, and I'm not privy to what they are planning or doing or strategical things. I'm an old fogey, but I think they're doing pretty good. I've got a lot of confidence in that. Okay. If you're given an opportunity to fly an adversary aircraft, Indian Air Force aircraft, to test its ability, which aircraft would it be? Or I think it would be the Tejas that they are developing. That I'd love to fly that if I get a chance. I don't. I think it's a far-fetched thing. Martin Wood, F-16 or F-18 Super Hornet. I think I'd take the F-16. What's the biggest drawback of a delta wing? Vita. Biggest drawback of the delta wing, like I said briefly earlier, a delta wing is got a very high induced drag as soon as you get the speed slow or you are a high angle of attack, and so it takes a long time for it to accelerate back. So if in a delta wing, if in an air combat situation, if you let your speed drop, then you better be ready to be shot down quickly. We used to. I remember when I flew the Mirages, we used to talk about unloading the wings, because if you are at a high angle of attack, you got to unload the wings. That means if you keep that high angle of attack, you're behind the power curve, and you'll never accelerate no matter how much afterburner you use. Then Victoria, lovely to have someone so experienced. What's your favorite airport to land? That's a good question. What's my favorite airport to land? You know, I was favorite airports to land. It depends on civilian airports, military airports. I've landed in airports as diverse as Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which I landed on a Bach 111 in, it was a long time ago. I think it was the 1984, a Bach 111 landing at the airport, 5,600 foot elevation and 5,500 foot runway with high mountains around. That was a favorite or a most a challenging airport to land. I've also landed at Gilgit Airport in northern Pakistan in the Himalayas, and that's another great airport to land. Yeah. Did any of your kids or relatives join the military? No, not yet. Okay. Let me see. I missed some questions on top. Where do you see Pakistan Air Force the next 10 years? I hope right here. Yeah. What aircraft would you fly if you were given the choice? I said F-16. While flying in the service, was there any aircraft you were worried about going against? I know our Mirage III F1 pilots didn't want to fly against the MiG-23, for example. Well, I tell you, being worried about going against, no. While I was flying in service, I was happy to go against any airplane, and that was my whole bent of mind. But I don't know if, MiG-23, I don't know which Air Force are you talking about, Frank Moody, but as an Air Force fighter pilot, you don't worry about going against any airplane. You just want to mix it up and see who comes out, the winner. Okay. Martin Wood says, I was an engineer in the RAF and worked on F-3 Tornado. Have you ever flown in one? Nope, Martin, no. I wish I had. I've not flown in a Tornado. Let me scroll down. Any engine issues? There's thrust reduction on MiGs and Mirages during hot summers in Pakistan, especially in places like Jacobabad, which is one of the hot. Yeah, I'm sure there were and there still are very hot airports like Jacobabad. You mentioned is one of the hottest airports in the world ever. I'm sure it's ambient heat takes a lot of toll on all jet engines, and so that's needless to say. What type of flying gear you had when in the PF? Did the G-suit and the MiG-19 differ from the Sabre and Mirage? How much G tolerance would they? Good question. The G-suits, we had modified the MiG-19 to be adapted to the same G-suits that the American USAF kind of G-suits that we used to wear on the F-86s or the Mirages. So, yep, the same thing. How many G tolerance? They would, I think I pulled 7 Gs, 7.5 Gs continuously, and they're pretty good. But I was much younger then. When will PF retire? Mirages? I don't know. Why does it seem that planning and operational integration between PF and Pak Army is weaker than those of other armies? Can you elaborate on this? I have no idea if it's weaker or stronger collaboration between. I think they've got a pretty good collaboration going, Qureshi, between Pakistan Army and Pakistan Air Force. Okay. Have you flown the Mirage at Mach 2? Nope. I tried a couple of times. It is supposed to be going Mach 2. I believe some of my friends, they have managed to take it up to Mirage 2, Mach 2, or the Mirage. Maximum I've seen is 1.75, and that with a lot of effort. I think it's a lot of factors that determine it's the ambient temperatures, the ISA variation, the height at which you try, and there are many, many things. I couldn't do it. I only tried once or twice. And what aircraft is there on the right-hand patch on your jacket? If you're talking of this one, that's a T-37 with the wings attached on it. It's just a patch that we had when I was an instructor in the training academy. Did PF shoot down Su-30 on 27th February? No idea. It's okay. So Tail Chopper says, in clear weather, how far away could you spot a bandit visually? That's another good question. As they say that you spot them first, you've got half the battle won, especially in a before the BVR kind of weapons came in. In clear weather at high altitude, I've spotted enemy airplanes or bogey airplanes or real practice. In practice, depending on the size of the airplanes, we used to fly against. We used to have exercises with the Royal Air Force, with the Vulcans, with V bombers coming in, or the American. We used to be part of a security pact called Cento, and I've spotted like V bombers 20 miles, 20 nautical miles, 25 nautical miles at high altitude. Now, if they're trailing, of course, you can spot them from much further. If they're not avoiding the contrails, 15, 20 miles, yeah, it's not a big deal. I've spotted them. Which aircraft is currently the best according to you? Depends on its missions. I think F-16, as if you're talking about fighter airplane, combat airplanes, is one of the best. The newer, the newer model. In 1965, Pakistan was a subsonic, like the 104, and PF Jet's night fighting capability was equipped with missiles, and none of these three factors are available to IF. Is it true? Well, yeah, that's true. We had, I think we had superiority in 65 in the type of the technology of the airplanes we had. They had more numbers though. Oh, let me see. What sort of gun sight do you have on the MiG-19? How can you compare that with the F-86? Gun sight of the MiG-19 was a very basic gun sight. It was a computing gun sight. It had air-to-air and air-to-ground functions, and it wasn't even at that time. The MiG-19 gun sight was not as good as the F-86 gun sight or the Mirage gun sight for air-to-air or air-to-ground function. Outside China and Pakistan, who has both used the MiG-19 for a long time? Do you think the type was overshadowed by the older MiG-17, or on the other hand, lot of other countries did fly the MiG-21, MiG-19s. Off the top of my head, I can say Egypt had, Albania had, Bangladesh had, a lot of countries. Some other African countries had flown the MiG-19s. Overshadowed, I don't know, but so it's probably not as well known as in the Western world as the MiG-21 or the 23. What's the toughest aircraft you've had a dogfight with you in a career? Oh, a lot of them. Usually I used to win. Just kidding. How do you, come on, that's a lot of questions coming in about the recent skirmish between India and Pakistan Air Forces in Kashmir. I think it's best to leave that to another discussion. Okay, but PF should pursue J-10 or F-16 Block 72 if USA permits a sale. I think right now, they're trying to debate the PF, the senior command, and the Ministry of Defense and all. And there are a lot of constraints, and I'm not privy, and neither do I want to be, because these are very hard decisions. And let's hope they make the right choice. I'm sure they will.
Okay, Tahir, if you want to maybe pick one or two more questions, while we wrap up this Q&A, that'd be great.
Sure. What are the questions coming in? Which one is a primary trainer? Howard? No, I've my primary trainer, the first trainer I flew on was the T-37, thankfully, but I flew the Howard later on when I went to flight instructor school to be qualified as a flight instructor. I love the Howard. Very difficult airplane to learn how to fly. Thank God I went to the T-37s, much easier. To what extent are ex-PF officers involved with current affairs? I don't know. Which Air Force officers are you talking about? Have you had a chance to meet any of your Indian Air Force fighter pilot counterparts, including some of the 1971 war? Yes, good question. Actually, after the 1971 war, we had a few Indian Air Force pilots who had ejected over our territory and taken prisoners. I used to regularly meet them. So, Mike, is that good enough? Or
that is absolutely great. So, thank you very much, Tahir, for coming on, and thank you to our guests who have obviously put some great questions to you. But thank you very much, Tahir, for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Mike. Good to talk to you, and I'm happy to have answered these questions. I hope they're all good.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.